Welcome to this episode of the Maximus Podcast. Your host, Bobby Maximus and Joe, and today we are going to talk about the 90-10 rule. You've seen us post about it on social media. You've seen us talking about it. You've seen comments about it. We are here to explain exactly what that is. But before we go any further, if you want the realest fitness information from the realest people around, subscribe and click that bell. Get your notifications because we will be talking to you every single week about fitness advice, diet advice, psychology advice that honestly can change your life and make it a lot better. So that is step one for you. Now on to the topic of the day, the 90-10 diet. In essence, Joe, I mean, you talk about this all the time. You eat 90% clean, 10%, you can have a little fun. Is that about cover it? Are we done?
I mean, in the simplest explanation, I posted on my TikTok or my Instagram and somebody says, what's the 90-10 rule? That's how I respond. 90% clean, unprocessed food, 10% fun, social, whatever. Simple, right?
Seems done, right? But there's a little more nuance in that.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as eating 90% of the time you're eating good food, and then 10% of the time you're just diving face down in a bucket of Doritos or a bucket of Oreo cookies. So let's talk about
a beautiful visual, by the
way. And also, Joe, I want to bring up an example of a client of mine. I got a client who comes back to the gym after 3 months. He's about 30 pounds overweight, and he's been struggling. And I ask him, I say, what have you been doing? Like, how's your diet been? And he says, my diet's good. And I said, it's not good if you're 30 pounds overweight. If you're fat, you cannot have a good diet. There's just
something's off.
No way. Something's off. You're doing something wrong. So good's a relative term. Like, it's shocking to me in the fitness industry when you ask somebody what their diet looks like and they say good, and then they provide you a list of what they eat, how bad that actually is.
Yeah.
Or how, it's a slippery slope. So let's talk a little bit about what that 90% looks like and how clean it needs to be.
Well, you know what? Let's start with some numbers. You like numbers. Pull up your phone and tell me 30 pounds. How long is that going to take?
For that?
Yeah. Because it's what, 3,500 calories per pound? That's what personal trainers will tell you. It's times 30 pounds.
You got $105,000 of credit card debt. You got 105,000 calories extra that you got to burn. You got 105,000 extra calories that you need to deal with. So let's say you can create a 500 calorie deficit every day. It's going to take you 210 days to burn that off.
That's with like no wiggle room at all. Zero cheating.
That's what you're looking at. If you're this client of mine, that's what you're looking at. So no, your diet's not good. You're going to have to suffer a little bit.
Well, and again, put that in perspective. You didn't wake up with $105,000 in credit card debt. You spent that extra $500 every day for the last 210 days to get to that point. So now you want to undo it. We got to reverse that. We got to start putting that money back in the bank.
So let's talk about what this 90% looks like, Joe.
Yeah.
Okay. It's got to be super clean. In terms of meat, you got to be able to murder it. You got to be able to kill it. You got to be able to cook it over an open flame. Now, yes, you can use a stove. You can use a Traeger. You can use an oven. But the reason I say that, because not all meats are made the same. If you're eating a chicken wing that's an actual real chicken wing that you baked in the oven, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is that deep fried nonsense that's coated in sauce that you get from Buffalo Wild Wings. Now you might argue with me and you might say Buffalo Wild Wings is delicious, and maybe you're right. Maybe their lemon pepper wing is the greatest thing that you've ever tasted, but it's not good for you and it's not going to help you hit your weight loss goals, your health goals.
But Buffalo Wild Wings is not in the business of helping people get six packs. They're in the business of selling chicken wings. So they're going to sell the most delicious, addictive chicken wings that they can come up with. So yeah,
That's
of
it.
course they're tasty.
That's
They're
it.
designed to be tasty. Millions of dollars of research have gone into making them more tasty. But if you're
So you'll
telling me
be
that you
addicted
are
to them.
trying to lose weight, you've got $210,000 of extra fat to lose. Like, does that fit? Is that part of
Oh.
the process?
So you got to be able to murder it, cook it naturally. So that leaves you with like pork chops, ground beef, steak, chicken thighs, chicken breasts, chicken wings, ribs, bacon, but it's got to be clean. I would strongly recommend that all the meat you get be antibiotic free, grass fed, grass finished, whatever it's called, that your bacon is nitrate free, that it's natural sausage, that it doesn't have a lot of additives. Like you're eating the cleanest, the best meat that you can find. Now, on the other side, you have produce. You got to be able to pluck it from a tree and eat it in its natural state. I'll let you peel it. Get an avocado, you peel it, eat it. Banana, you peel it, eat it. You eat an apple. You eat a raspberry, a blueberry. What about a potato? I know it comes from the ground. I know you think it's a vegetable, but you have to cook it to eat it, so that's off limits. What about sweet potato? Same thing. You got to cook it. You ain't eating it. That's
You're not eating those raw.
90% clean across the board. Now, what about guacamole that's made from 5 ingredients?
Well, now we're getting into it's processed. There's a process involved in creating.
There's no guacamole tree.
Right.
That's just what I ask people, right? What about the pizza that's made by hand, the stuff that you had in Italy that's made from all the clean ingredients? I checked, it wasn't a pizza tree, a pizza plant, pizza animal. You don't get to eat that. That's your 90%. Your 10% is where you can have a little bit of fun. But here's where everyone falls down. They're looking at fun as Doritos, Oreos, soda, Sour Patch
ice cream,
Kids,
right?
Garbage, right?
Yeah.
No. You can have some processed food, but it still has to be made from nature. So your potatoes, you can have that because you can cook them. You can
part of your 10%. Yep.
You can have your guacamole because it's made from 5 ingredients. Now you can have some bread if it's organic flour and real cane sugar and real yeast. So you can step out for that 10%. You can have spaghetti sauce, but it still has to be from the absolute 100% cleanest of ingredients. So that's your diet, and that's all you get to eat. I am sorry, you don't get soda, you don't get Doritos, you don't get Oreo cookies, you don't get Sour Patch Kids.
I was going to say, in that 90-10, where do Oreos fit in? And the answer is they don't.
They don't. Because
they don't
you can't
belong there.
construct an Oreo into natural ingredients, so you're out. We put that in a category of cheating. And how much you're going to cheat, that depends on how bad you want to accomplish your goals.
Again, we're talking 210 days if you're maintaining 500 calories a day deficit. So if you want to eat 500 calories worth of Oreos, now it's 211 days.
How much weight do you want to lose? Like, that's what it comes down to. And here's my deal, Joe. You're going to follow this 90-10 rule. And I want to talk about 2 things before we end the podcast. All right? The number one thing is we're not asking you to eat a bad diet.
No.
We're not asking you to suffer. We're asking you to eat a James Beard Michelin star diet. When you watch Iron Chef, when you go to the best restaurants in the world, you think Gordon Ramsay's serving you stuff from a can? You think when he makes you like a play on a Snickers bar, he's chopping up a Snickers bar? No, he's making that stuff by hand. The best peanuts, the best caramel, the best chocolate. We are asking you to eat just a stellar diet. You're not going to suffer. Number 2, you could cheat all you want. You could fill your face with soda. You could fill your face with Doritos. You could fill your face with Sour Patch Kids. But don't you dare log into my Instagram, come up on my YouTube, bother your wife or your husband, bother your imaginary friends on Reddit about how you're fat, how you have no energy, how your testosterone's low, and how your sex drive is in the gutter. You made that choice. You made the choice that soda, that bag of Doritos, that bag of Oreos was more important than your health. It was more important than the spare tire around your waist. It was more important than your happiness and your health. And that's okay. Don't let anyone judge you. Don't let anyone call you a fatso, fat shame you, and hurt your little feelings. You chose that. So just make sure it's worth it. That's the only two things that you need to know about the 90-10 diet. You're not suffering. In fact, you're going to eat a lot better and be a lot happier.
Well, let's talk about that real briefly, because if all you're eating is like boiled chicken breasts and steamed broccoli, you're probably going to suffer through that.
Yeah.
If I invite you over to my house and you're like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, boiled chicken and steamed broccoli, you're going to be like, you want to go out? Like,
I get it.
But on the flip side, if I'm cooking you like a ribeye, if I'm giving you like a salad made from my own garden to go along with that, like that ain't suffering.
You're not suffering. You're just living a good diet, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
If you come over and I give you a Reese peanut butter cup, I'm not a very good host.
No.
On the other hand, I have some imported dark chocolate from Italy and some homemade walnut butter. That's a little different. So like, again,
and it's
you're
worth
not
it.
suffering.
It's worth that. Like if it delays my goal by a day or 2 days, like it's probably worth it because it's that good. But I'm not going to do that every day because then I'm never going to pay it off.
Just make cheating worthwhile.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to steal, don't go to jail because you stole a candy bar. do some Ocean's 11 shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like something
bro?
epic.
Like if you can get billions of dollars, fine, embezzle, steal, do what
Guys,
you got.
don't
You
steal.
go to the white collar prison.
This is not legal advice.
But don't go to the jail for a candy bar.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's what people do. Like back to the original numbers to wrap up this podcast. Back to that original number. You're 30 pounds overweight. You're listening to this. You got 210 days and that's only a 500 calorie deficit. You're not even suffering that much.
Yeah.
Right? It's 210 days. Every time you cheat, every time you put chemicals in your body, you're adding to it. And we haven't even talked about health or inflammation or testosterone or the effects these chemicals have on your body. And that's all this is. If you just, and by the way, if you just ate a 90-10 diet, you wouldn't be overweight. You wouldn't have issues with testosterone. You wouldn't have issues with energy. You'd be happier. You'd be healthier. You'd have a better relationship with the people in your world. Like that's worth it to you, right?
I would think.
I mean, it is pretty fun to rip the Oreo part and eat the middle out of it.
But like, be real again. You're like, I'm 30 pounds overweight and I need to change. Why are you eating an Oreo anyway? What is it doing for you? It's not giving you vitamins and minerals that your body needs. It's literally just delaying you. Now, if you're at your ideal body weight, if you're performing really well, and you're like, yeah, I want to have an Oreo. Well, I mean, that's like having that zero balance on your credit card. You can pay that off this week.
Different people.
Exactly. Different goals for different people. So where you're at, you have no leeway, none whatsoever. You've got to dial it in and you've got to stay there.
Yeah. And listen, before you come at me about fat shaming, I never said anything about your intelligence level. I never said anything about your work ethic. I didn't call you lazy. I didn't say you're a bad person. I didn't say you're going to hell. Being fat puts you at risk for all kinds of diseases. Heart disease, lung disease, joint problems, chemical imbalances, autoimmune disorders. Like if you look at how bad the mortality rates are for people that are obese, it's not a judgment. It's unhealthy. It will kill you. It will tank you. So I'm just asking you to live a better life. I want you to stay away from pharmaceuticals.
It's a higher standard, but it's a standard you deserve. As a human being, you deserve nutritious food. You deserve the benefits of eating food that's not just empty.
And honestly, eating food's enjoyable. You spent time in Italy. How good is just real homemade Italian food? Like, you're going to be happier. Food is something to enjoy, not just something to consume because you have no clue what you're putting in your mouth.
Yeah.
So
and again, eat good. You deserve good things. You deserve it. Don't settle.
The best steak, the best chicken, the best fish, the best produce. So here's the deal. 90-10, keep it clean. 95-5, if you got to do that. And cheat at an absolute minimum and only when it's worth it. That's the 90-10 rule. Listen, you like this contest, you like this content, from the real fitness people on the planet, the realest people in the game. We've got kids. We've got wives. We live lives. We don't do PEDs. We don't do TRT. We just offer you real advice for you. Subscribe. Get the notifications going so you know when we come on again. And we will see you for the next episode.